Hi everyone, welcome to THT, and today I'm super excited to show you 4 decks that I've been working on for Legend of the Force. The FFG has spoiled the set earlier than usual, and obviously I'm taking that opportunity to do a lot of testing, and there's a lot of cool decks that I've been able to work with, and I think decks that have a lot of potential to be meta in the upcoming set. So we get into this right away, but before that, I just want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Cardmarket, the biggest marketplace to buy and sell cards in Europe. So first of all, we have this really awesome Kazuda Blue. Kazuda Blue existed in set 4, but unfortunately the only real reason to be playing Kazuda during the previous set was very much playing the Corporate Defense Shuttle. But really not much else, and Corporate Defense Shuttle was kind of awkward because it's a space unit, you kind of want to deploy your leader on it, but if you do, then your ability is locked for the rest of the game. So it's actually a space unit, but you can't really deploy your leader on it. So it was a really, really good card, but I don't think it was quite enough to carry the entire archetypes. There's the other ship that was a 6/7 for 5 that you could turn off the downside it, which I think is fine, but I think ideally you want to be playing much more aggressive than this. A 5-drop with no immediate impact on the game I don't think is quite good enough. And blue has given us so much for this deck. First of all, we got the Loth Wolf, which is a 3/3 Sentinels for 2 that cannot attack, but obviously you can turn off the downside with Kazuda to turn this into a Battlefield Marine. And the cool thing about it is like it's a Battlefield Marine when you want it to be a Battlefield Marine, but then if you actually want a Sentinels, you can actually just keep it on as a Sentinels, prevent it from attacking you. So it's actually much better than the Battlefield Marine. Another card I want to talk about is obviously Ogdo Bogdo, which is basically a 5/5 for 3, which is obviously insane stats. Very aggressive, will put tremendous amount of pressure on the opponent. It's also a unit that can be equipped with a Hotshot DS44 blaster, so you can slap for 7. It's just really powerful, will put a lot of pressure, and it's not easy to kill. If your opponent damage it, you can actually decide, then you can attack without the need of Kazuda's ability, and then you can even heal it up if you damage a unit. It's an insane upgrade for the deck and an insanely turn to play. The only downside of this card is like normally you want to play a space unit on turn 2 in Kazuda, so you deploy your leader on it. But the thing is, there's two things you understand. The first one is that even though we don't play, if you play this a non-space unit on turn 2, you can still play Fireball on turn 1, so you still have a space unit to deploy on, or you can even play Human Falcon on turn 3, that's going to play ready, you can deploy your leader on. And also something you have to understand about Kazuda is that even though he is it's nice to be able to deploy it on a unit to make that unit so much more difficult to deal with, it's not a requirement by any means. You're only losing out on 1 damage when you deploy it in space versus deploying it on the ground. On the ground, you still have the ability to turn off your units' downsides, which is what you want. And actually, in a lot of cases, deploying Kazuda as a unit is the correct choice, as you want to be playing around upgrade removal, as well as bamboozle. So there's a lot of situations where actually deploying Kazuda on the ground is the right play to make anyway. So the fact that, yeah, because Ogdo is not a space unit, is not that big of a deal. And in a lot of cases, you're just simply going to deploy Kazuda as a unit, regardless. So yeah, those 2 cards are really the 2 biggest upgrade of the deck. Obviously, the Corporate Defense Shuttle is still an amazing turn 1 play. 3/5 for 2 in space is insane. Even if you can't really deploy your leader on it, it doesn't change the fact that it's absolutely insane. Very difficult for the opponent to deal with, and plays very well around ping plus Tarkentown. The fact that we're playing blue also allows us to get access to Security Complex, which is very handy if you are in a very Tarkentown based meta. Tarkentown plus ping was one of the biggest things that prevented Kazuda from really shining on the competitive scene. The deck was really getting hard shut down by those kind of plays, and Security Complex is a direct counter to this. It really prevents your unit from being killed by ping plus Tarkentown. We also have other plays like L337 turn 1 or Corporate Defense Shuttle, but with Security Complex, we already know that no matter what unit we play on turn 1, we'll be able to play around ping plus Tarkentown, which is huge. obviously protecting our units whenever we get space unit plus Kazuda on it, and we put like a shield on it, makes it so much difficult to deal with, and obviously makes our ATL easier to defend. So whether Security Complex is going to be the right choice for the deck or not remains to be seen. Obviously, it's going to come down to the meta. Keep in mind that I'm building all those decks kind of blind, not really knowing what the meta is going to be. And there's definitely a meta where Security Complex is very strong, but there's also a meta where it's very weak and you would rather just have 5 extra HP. So that's going to be remains to be seen on how that's really going to work out. So other really cool thing going on in this particular list, so the rest of the deck is pretty much we play a lot of buff spells, a lot of yellow cards that you would expect. We like to play Jam Communication against decks that have a lot of removal, so you can usually run Jam plus play a 2-drop alongside on turn 2, and that's a really strong play. We play, of course, the full... we also play the new card, the J-Type Nabunian Starship, is what it's called, yeah? And this card is really nice because it's basically a 2/4 for 3 that draws you a card, which is very strong, and we can just turn off the downside so we don't really suffer from the when defeated effect, which is kind of neat. And being able to draw a card in this deck is actually pretty good because we do empty our hands pretty quick. So it's nice to have like some sort of ways to draw a card. It's once again another space unit we can play on turn 2. So it's really, really awesome. The deck is very consistent. It's very aggressive. It's gonna have much larger unit than your opponent can that are gonna be difficult to deal with, and they're gonna hit like trucks. So we just have a lot of overstat units very early on in the game. So I think it's a really cool deck, and it's likely to be the best way to play Kazuda in the new set. So really excited about this. If you like aggro decks, this might be the first viable blue aggro decks. I mean, okay, Gar-Saxon was there first, I would say, but at least on the heroism side. So it's really cool to see that, and we're very excited to one of the things though is that Gar-Saxon was kind of an aggro deck that was blue because of the leader, but like it really didn't like playing blue, while Kazuda blue is really a deck that really purposely want to be blue, which is really, that's the key difference here. So I think it's a really cool deck, and I've been having a lot of success with it, so hopefully you do too. Just to let you know, you can pick up Stolen ATL for €6 on Card Market, so quite cheap, so get it up before it goes up in price. Next deck I want to show you is another aggressive deck. It is this time an Anakin Crystal Cave deck, so it's a Force deck. So it is a deck that you can build this to be more mid-rangey, but this is really an aggressive version. The idea is dominate the board early on using Anakin's ability. It takes really good trades. So you're going to be trading a little bit early on using Anakin's ability. And then basically kind of like take over the game and start putting massive bodies after massive bodies. You take a bunch of damage, it's okay, you deploy Anakin, and Anakin is just a huge menace. And we use the Force synergies to give ourselves some really good plays. So among the new cards we're playing obviously Adigalia. Adigalia is going to be an auto-include in any Anakin's deck that plays any Anakin's deck really. Just the 2/4 stat line is really good with Anakin. And he has, and obviously, he can basically just deal 4 damage on attack. And he also has a very relevant ability, and it is also Force, which enables 4th throw and enables our Crystal Cave. It's our best turn 1 play in this deck. Really, the turn 1 plays are really, in my opinion, the weakness of this deck. It doesn't have that many great turn 1s outside of Adigalia, but I think it makes up for the rest of the deck is just really powerful. So we got the L337s, we got the Anakin's Interceptors for space opening, and then a card that you might be surprised to see in the deck is a Mysterious Hermit. So Mysterious Hermit is 1/4 ambush for 2. The advantage of this card is like, first of all, 1/4 stat line is actually not bad at all in an Anakin's deck because you can just use Anakin's ability and he can just kill a 3/3 without dying, which is very relevant. It also has the Force keyword, so it gives us the Force token with Crystal Cave, which is very relevant. And then it also has ambush, so the ambush is rarely relevant, but it is sometimes relevant because that means you can basically pay 2 to get the Force and put a body on the field at the same time. So it's actually pretty nice. So it's just like a Force enabler mostly. So the rest of the deck is very much what you would expect, but then we have a couple of new cards that are really awesome in the deck. One of the star of the deck is Venestra Row, Precocious Knight. So 3/4 for 3. She comes to play ready if you have the Force, and then she attacks and gives you the Force back, which is awesome. So it's kind of like a Falcon, but on the ground, but that doesn't, where you don't have to pay a Falcon tax, which is insane. And it's also a Force enabler for throw as well, and a ground unit that can get Ultra Deodo 44 blasters, unlike Falcon. So it's really an awesome card. Obviously, you need to get the Force to be able to play it. So the awkward part is like we only play 6 turn 1 play that have the Force, which is the Adigalia and the Mysterious Hermit. You can kind of improve your odds by playing some Anakin. You could play like the young Anakin as well. Decided not to do that, but you could do this if you want to make this even more consistent. It's still, honestly, if you don't open up with Force units, then you don't want to be playing Venestra on turn 2, but you could play it later on in the game. It's not really a problem at all. And you could play another thing instead. You could play like a Cassian or Red 5, so it's completely fine. It's just really, but if you can do this, it's just really awesome. The 3/4 that comes to play ready is just really incredible. Then we got the constructed lightsaber, which is, there's not really any great lightsabers in those colors, so we play the constructed lightsaber instead. The +2/+3 and give us restore 2, really awesome on Anakin, and really awesome on just to give us an extra survivability. It can be very powerful against certain type of decks. So it's really nice. Then we play, of course, the Ahsoka, and then we play the Quinlan Verse. So Quinlan Verse it's really the best deck in my opinion for Quinlan. We can very easily turn on his ability. If this unit attacks at 6 more power, you may deal 2 additional damage to the opponent base. So the idea, of course, to play this on turn 3, and then on turn 5, the opponent has not killed it. It's a huge punishment. You can go like deal 44 blasters, and then you're dealing 8 to base, which is insane. You can drop a constructed lightsaber on it. You can play a surprise strike for 9 damage to base, and you can even use Anakin to kill a unit with it and deal 2 damage to the base. So it's really good combo with Anakin Skywalker. It's really the best deck for Quinlan, in my opinion. This Anakin deck is really the best deck for Quinlan. It's really a huge threat. It's not so easy to kill because it has 5 health. So really awesome card. Then on turn 5, I did try to play the new Asajj, which combined really well with Quinlan, but I just find it to be a little bit slow, and I prefer the Poe because Poe is just far more punishing of a card whenever it's not being dealt with, and because so I really prefer Poe, and Poe is self-sufficient. He doesn't need another card in play to actually work. He's just self-sufficient, so really prefer Poe. Then we got the new ambush, the Deba Biloba, which is another way we can get the Force. 5/7s, Saboteur, plus a Saboteur threat's also really nice in this type of deck, so as a finisher play. We get a Mace Windu, which is, in my opinion, an auto-include in any red-white deck that's going to be playing with the Force. Mace Windu just 6/6 overwhelm, deal with the unit that comes to play, whether it's on the ground or space. It's just really strong. And we also play a couple of Qui-Gon Jinn to get ourselves a little bit ways to kind of come back into the game when we were falling behind on board. And Qui-Gon allows us to do that, so it's really nice. So we're playing a lot of new cards, as you can expect from the Force decks. The sideboard, we also play the Jedi Sentinels, which are 5 Force Sentinels, really awesome in certain matchups. Kia-Di Mundi draws a million cards with the Force. So we're really utilizing the Force, but you can see most of the Force cards that really benefit from the Force intervene relatively late in the game. Like a Mace Windu, we don't have that many, we're not really dependent on the Force to actually work. The deck doesn't need the Force to actually work. It just uses the Force to get access to some really powerful cards. So what I like about this deck is that it's really a good ability to kind of dominate the early game thanks to Anakin's ability. The Anakin's deployment is still one of the most powerful deployments in the entire game. It can kill the opponent very quickly with really huge slaps coming from different places. And then it has awesome abilities for finishers because we're playing not 3, not 6, but 9 cards that come into play ready. With 3 Falcons, 3 Castians, and the row. We have loads of Smuggle as well, so very resilient deck, never runs out of gas. So there's a lot of cool thing going on with this, so I would really advise you to give this a shot. Then going back to decks that you probably already know about, but that have been strongly upgraded, I think, with the new set. We'll start first with the Cadbane Tarkin Town. So this deck I've been having a lot of fun with it. I really like playing Cadbane, to be fair. I haven't had the chance to play Cadbane a lot, but it's a really a deck that I enjoy playing. And so really the big upgrade with this deck is that we are, if you ask any Cadbane player what is the 2 major weaknesses of the deck, most of them will answer you Yeah, I just realized this deck has 49 cards. I'm sorry. So there's just something that I forgot to put here, is that there is actually one copy of Tip the Scale that should be in the main deck. So I'm sorry about this. There should be one more copies of this. So I will edit this on the deck list itself. So just bear with me. There should be one more copy of Tip the Scale to do 50 cards. This is only 49 cards. I'm sorry. Anyway, going back to the deck list. So if you ask any Cadbane player what are the two major weaknesses of this archetypes, most of them will answer you. The number one weakness is the turn 1 play. Cadbane historically has had really bad turn 1 plays, or the turn 1 plays that are very situational. Things like, for example, Sandrider or Bazine. They're really good turn 1 plays in some situation, but they are very situational. So really, the turn 1 plays are really being lackluster for the deck. And the second weakness they will tell you is that the deck is really weak against control. And I think both of those issues, at least to some degrees, have been addressed in this set. And I think Cadbane is going to be a really strong force to be reckoned with in the upcoming meta. So first I want to talk about Aura Sing, the new 2-drop. So this card over here. This card is a 1/4 rated 2 hidden. So it's basically kind of a 3/4 for 2, which is insane if you think about it. Okay, he only has 1 attack, so it's vulnerable to be attacked. But you gotta keep in mind that it's hidden, so it's not likely to be attacked when it comes to play. So it's very likely to be able to get at least one swing in before it gets damaged. Not only that, it is both an Underworld and a Bounty Hunter, which is also huge. Bounty Hunter, very useful with Relentless Pursuit to get yourself an extra shield whenever you're capturing with it. And and obviously the Underworld is necessary for Cadbane to get ourselves our Pink plus Stark in town early on in the game. Another card which is also a very strong and underlooked turn 1 play is Strike Ship. And Strike Ship is a 0/3 raid 3 overwhelm for 2 that is also Underworld. And I think this card is awesome because whenever you play Cadbane, very often your opponent will not want to play first. They're either going to give you the initiative or they're going to skip their first, they're going to pass their first action. And that means that you're almost always going to have the initiative going into turn 2. And Strike Ship, just like Aura Sing, shine whenever you have initiative because you get the first swing. So let's say you're playing against a player who runs something like an A-Wing or something even like a 3/2. You're almost always going to be able to strike them first with Strike Ship before they get to attack you back. So either you're going to get 3 damage in on the base, or you're going to, even better, you're going to be able to get your trade, or you're going to be able to kill the unit and the Strike Ship survive if you're facing like an A-Wing. So I think Strike Ship is really good in this deck for 2 reasons. The first reason is like it's Underworld, it's a turn 2 play which the deck was lacking, but it's also a card that I think is going to be, because you're always going to be playing first, going into the second turn, it's almost always going to get its damage. The fact that it's raid 3 is not really as big of an issue. So it's really good card. So so then basically this is kind of your standard traditional Cadbane build for the rest of the deck, but really those turn 1 plays makes a huge difference. And once again, the other major big player in this deck that I think makes a very big difference is the card called Tip the Scale. So you get there's two in the sideboard and there's 1 in the main deck. And the idea of this card is like it's a trick. That means it can be obtained from Jabba the Hutt, which means that we have a very strong anti-control package with Jabba the Hutt, where we can literally just play Jabba, get the Tip the Scale, discard the most important card of your opponent, you discard the stuff like the Super Laser Blast, all the stuff, the hard removal, that can get rid of Cadbane, that kind of thing, and really put yourself very far ahead against control. So this gets rid of any non-unit card that also works for upgrades as well. So I think Tip of Scale is a really good card, a really good upgrade for Cadbane. And this package here, the Tip the Scale, Jabba the Hutt package, is gonna be really powerful against control in general. You can see the entire sideboard is dedicated to beat control. We got some Sham Syndulla, we get some Commandeer as part of the toolbox for Jabba the Hutt, we get some late game Devastators, we get some more discard with Bazine. It's a really anti-control sideboard. Once again, no idea if that's going to be the correct build, but I think this deck is something that we really want to look at going into this new set because it got some really good upgrade and it was already a pretty competitive deck in set 4. So, moving now to my last deck of the day, and this is going to be my Chancellor Palpatine Blue build. So Chancellor Palpatine Blue was already a deck that was on the verge of being competitive, sort of. It's a deck that some people have been having some success, but it's just a little bit too inconsistent, especially in the early stage of the game. And I think that this expansion is once again helping a ton on that particular perspective. We are playing basically 3 new cards, and the first new card is Loath Wolf. Loath Wolf is amazing in Chancellor Palpatine Blue because it gives us a turn 1 play heroism that your opponent has to kill if they want to attack you because it's Sentinel. So that means that it's likely to die, which will allow it to flip on the dark side on turn 2 and start flipping back and forth. So it's really, really strong card. It's really exactly what Chancellor Palpatine needed, a protective early turn play that is forcing your opponent to attack into that will actually die and get some really good trades and allow you to flip your Chancellor Palpatine on the other side. The other cool thing, so we got access to Ezra Bridger, which I think is a great card in this deck, as kind of like, okay, if you don't manage to get yourself a flip onto the dark side on turn 2, you can actually play Ezra Bridger instead, and it's going to be a really solid turn 1 play. It combines really well with Loath Wolf, by the way, and just a really solid, this is 3/5 for 3. You're really happy to play this on turn 2, put another heroism card into play, and once again another unit that if it dies, you get to flip to the dark side. So once again, we're playing the mono blue deck because I think it's the best version by far. We allow you to play Charleston. We play almost exclusively blue, so Charleston is almost always a 6/6 for 4. Kuehl is insane in the deck, so to draw so many cards. Drawing a lot of cards in the Palpatine deck is very important because it gives you way more options into the way you can actually play the game. The way you can play the game and flip on regardless of if you're on the dark side, on the light side. So this is, for me, is kind of like granted, right? And then obviously the last big upgrade of this deck is the Anakin Skywalker, which obviously if you get access to both Villainy and Heroism in your deck, this guy gonna gives you -6/-6 that can be split in double -3/-3, which gives it kind of a mini Anakin, a mini Luke. And you can play Anakin, and then you can play Luke on curve, which is absolutely insane. So yeah, Anakin is a strong payoff now for being able to play both Heroism and Villainy in the same deck, and obviously the best deck to do this, in my opinion, is Chancellor Palpatine. So a lot of great options here. You can see my sideboard. I have some anti-hot control tech. I got some anti-Vader Rado yellow tech with Evacuate, some anti soft control with Annihilator, and yeah, a bit of heal, and that's it. So the deck is a lot better than it used to be. And it also got some upgrade from set 4 as well with the Fireball. The early game is just so much better than it used to be. And that's a big deal for this deck. We also always have the Geonosis Patrol Fighter as a way to sacrifice our dude to be able to get a flip and get ourselves a pretty good early game as well. So really, really an awesome deck. And that I'm really excited to play. It's a really fun deck to play with as well if you're not too intimidated by the complex nature of the leader. Anyways, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoy those lists. I think they're both, all 4 of those lists I'm expecting to be competitive. We'll see some monoplay. Will they be the best deck in the game? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe they are. I don't know. So it's going to be exciting to see what comes out, and you can expect me to show you more deck lists here moving forward. Thank you so much for following that video, and I'll see you next time.